Don't forget to check out and grab your copy of our 2 newly released books, Football: A Love Story and What Did Football Teach Me? These books feature over 100 stories from current and former coaches, players, executives, and entertainers from across the football landscape, describing what got them involved in the game, what they love about it, and what life lessons the game taught them. You can find your copy or order your copy from our website at footballgameplan.com/book. Looking at my keys to victory for both teams in this ball game, starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have to spread the wealth. This is a football team that will be playing without Antonio Brown, and they may be without Ben Roethlisberger, but they still have enough talent offensively to get the job done if they spread the wealth. Sometimes you may want to get Heath Miller involved, Martavis Bryant. You also look at Marcus Wheaton. Get everyone involved in the offense, and I think they still can be effective even without their number one option in Antonio Brown. If they're going to go with Landry Jones, he has to protect the football, and that ties right into the second point. Ball security is going to be key. Whether it's Ben Roethlisberger or Landry Jones, they have to protect the football and not give away possessions to the Broncos. And defensively, I think these early defensive stops in the ball game versus Peyton Manning is huge. They're going to be critical. If they can get those early stops, and offensively they're having positive plays and they're building that momentum and building that confidence, it goes a long way in helping these guys come away victorious on the road. Moving over to the Broncos in this ball game, I like C.J. Anderson a lot. I think, quite honestly, they have to feed the football to him and not worry about the running back by committee. Maybe you want to throw guys a bone every play or two, but ideally you want to feed C.J. Anderson, allow him to get rolling. I think he could have a huge day versus the Steelers' defense. And defensively, I would press on the outside the entire game. Ben Roethlisberger may play, he may not play, but if he does play, he's not going to be at 100%, and so you don't know how far he can throw the football down the field. Landry Jones, you want to get him to hold the football entirely too long, and pressing on the outside, whether you're playing man or zone, could go a long way in accomplishing that and killing their passing attack. And you have to close the door and throw away the key. I think this happened in the first meeting. They had a big-time lead versus Pittsburgh. They allow these guys back in the ball game. If that happens again, the Broncos would find themselves leaving the playoffs very early this weekend. I like the Broncos in this ball game. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers offensively are a little bit too beat up to go into Denver and knock off probably the best defense in the NFL. I do think their pressure defensively will get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, will slow down what they want to do offensively. I think they will have a great day on the ground. It won't be a lot of what Peyton Manning does to win this game, but more so what C.J. Anderson and that defense does to knock out the Steelers.
All right, when we look at the Steelers and Broncos, this is a game where it's really going to be about setting the tone early for the Steelers. Points are going to be hard to come by against this Broncos defense regardless. But then you look at what the Steelers have for them. We don't know who's playing quarterback. Antonio Brown, he'll have to pass concussion protocol, and that's not likely. So they're going to have to figure out a way to limit the Broncos from scoring a lot of points. Mike Mitchell, I think, could be an enforcer for them. He could, in effect, take away two of Peyton Manning's favorite options, and that's Demaryius Thomas and Vernon Davis. He could do that by delivering big hits, big but clean hits on them early in the game. They both have shown that if you are very physical with them early in the game, they have the tendency to tap out. They'll check out of some games because of that physical nature. Just look at the Super Bowl a couple years ago when the Broncos played the Seahawks. That's a perfect example. Mike Mitchell is going to have to be the tone setter for them. Let them know that they're in for a very physical football game, and it's going to be a long day. That's what he'll need to do. As far as the Broncos are concerned, I mentioned Demaryius Thomas, and I think that he will be the X factor for the Broncos just because he's Peyton Manning's favorite target. He's his favorite guy to throw the football to. I think that he could be a factor catching the short pass, the slant, the shallow cross, and taking that the distance. But Peyton Manning also likes to get the ball to him vertically along the sidelines. He's a big-time playmaker, their best playmaker on offense. So he will be my X factor, especially because Peyton Manning's at quarterback. As I mentioned, he likes to throw the football to Demaryius Thomas. So Demaryius Thomas, he'll need to step up. He's the X factor. I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to win this football game. I have the Broncos winning 35-14.
This should be a very interesting game as the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Denver to face the Broncos. We have two guys who have suffered lots of injuries this year, two future Hall of Famers in quarterback Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning. Now for the Steelers, we don't know what Ben we're going to get. He has a sprained AC joint, some torn shoulder ligaments. Will he actually be able to be effective? We know he won't be the normal Big Ben, but this guy is a champion. He's a gladiator. And what will happen with Antonio Brown? Will he pass the concussion protocol and make it through to play in the game? What they really have to do is take advantage of what they can do against this team, and that is the deep passing game. What do I mean by that? Obviously, throwing the ball over the top against this great tandem of corners has been effective. They did it during the regular season, but I think that they can actually affect the game with shorter passes, get the ball in space to some of these playmakers with Ben's shoulder being hurt. That's how they're going to have to do it since they can't exactly take advantage of the over-the-top passing game. Now, for Denver, the formula has worked. Even with Peyton Manning being back, you run the ball. You run the ball and you run the ball some more. The receiving core hasn't exactly been up to par from what we've expected from them with the talent they offer. So you run the ball to set up the pass, interestingly enough. Now, as far as rookies that have been very helpful and impactful for these rosters, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to look at Bud Dupree for Pittsburgh. He's actually stepped up and played pretty good football this year. I thought that he was a little overdrafted in the 2015 draft, but he's actually shown up and played solid football in a good front seven for the Steelers. Now, as far as the Denver Broncos, I actually expected more out of this guy. He hasn't really shown me as much as I expected. Shane Ray has not exactly produced to the level that I expected him to do with the talent that he offers. Outlooks for these teams going into the 2016 draft. Now, for Pittsburgh, it's obvious. They have to get more talent and deeper in the secondary, especially the corner position. Since Quez Golson did not play this season, he'll be back, but you still need more talent back there. And as far as the Denver Broncos, I'm actually not going to affect the offensive line like people were saying. I think that they need another threat at tight end. I think that that's where they need to go if they have the opportunity to get a guy who can be effective for them. As far as the final outcome, with the Steelers not being able to stretch the defense long ways, I think that Denver will hold them to a low-scoring game and end up getting the victory in a 20-17 game.